Nation. Welcome to the Sooner Surge YouTube Live here as we are going to be following the commitment of Don McKinley, a commitment, a recruitment that's been kind of under the radar a little bit, very quiet in some aspects. But we're here about 5 minutes away from seeing where Don McKinley is going to officially commit to. And guys, it's a five-star defensive lineman that would be massive get for the Sooners. It sounds like it's everything that we've seen that's been publicized has been A&M and OU, and that A&M looks to be pretty maybe much in favor of this. But just some thoughts on Don McKinley. Seems like would be a great addition, great defensive lineman, five-star for sure. So, yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, he's really done a very good job of keeping everyone on their toes. Really not really definitive predictions from anybody right now. I know he was fonged by Steve Wiltfong this morning to A&M. That was only a 6. Everyone else has really just been not too sure on what's going to happen. He's been very quiet to who he's talking to. So, yeah, 4 minutes away now from the decision on Instagram Live.
Yeah, it is interesting the whole about that we've heard the last I guess it's been a week since kind of Texas maybe had fallen off a little bit. That kind of was a changing point where it seemed like some others were there. I know Don McKinley was with David Stone at Champ U. I think was that his official at OU, guys? Or
it wasn't was it Champ U, Brody? I think it was it the week before, or was it Champ U?
I think Dom was the Champ U because
I think so, yeah.
Winery was the week before and Stone was the weekend.
Yeah, I get thrown off because we all thought before that Stone was going to be there back-to-back weekends. So when you see those pictures, I remember more Champ U of being at the stadium. The weekend before was pretty much only at the hangar, and the picture of Dom and Stone was at the hangar in Champ U weekend. So they did it both there. It's just kind of get it mixed up a bit.
They did the same exact visit 2 times, 2 different weekends. It was the same stuff.
And whenever you watch Dominick McKinley play on film, the one thing that stands out is he's very, very tall and lanky for someone of his size. I believe he is, according to 24/7 Sports, he's 6'5.5", 280 pounds. But he has very, very long arms, which allows him to take up much more space without him having to be upwards of 310, 320 pounds. And whenever you watch him on film, the way he uses his hands, he's very strong and heavy hands, which to me is what mainly stands out, which would allow him to have the versatility to play maybe potentially a pure nose tackle or just a defensive tackle in general in the Oklahoma scheme.
Yeah, I mean, he's almost 6'6", I think. I mean, you don't see that a lot in the middle for a defensive lineman that size, height-wise. You know, usually those guys can be moved out to the end a lot more, but it sounds like he's very much a disruptor in the middle. But, I mean, I'm just
committed to A&M.
Did he just commit?
Yeah.
A&M?
Yep.
I haven't seen a tweet yet, but
yes, it's out on Twitter.
Okay, I just got it.
Did he post it, and what was the tweet, Brody?
On 3 recruits.
So there you have it. On 3. Do what?
Texas A&M Aggie, another loss for OU against Texas A&M. I mean, they just can't win those recruiting battles.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, this was a kind of up until this week, we didn't think we had a chance.
I agree.
Yeah.
This is not a lot. Like, you can't say.
Listen, I'm not.
This is a bonus recruitment, so to
This
lose
is
it.
not a David Hicks situation, so don't get that in your mind.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying once again. Like, what do you think won out on this? Do you think it was NIL?
Take a guess. It's Texas A&M.
What?
Take a guess on what won out on this. It's Texas A&M.
But from what I've heard about Dom and family, I don't think that's I'm not sure that we
I
can say
agree.
that was a deciding factor of NIL.
Jeremy, why else would you pick Texas A&M? It's harder to get on the field because of so many five-star
Well,
D linemen they have.
because what we heard, Brody, is
Texas
also
A&M.
education. Brody, I've heard education and location too. So
Yeah, they are besides LSU, I believe that's the closest school to him in
Yeah.
Lafayette.
Hey, Brody.
Brother I believe he plays on the same high school team. So being able for the family to go to the games Friday night and Saturday for Dom is
Yeah, his brother's still in high school. I mean, it's a big deal. And another thing is, everyone that says why would they go to A&M? I don't know. Why does every 4 or 5 star? Why do they get so many 5 stars? I mean,
It's the money, bro.
It's not just the money.
the
No,
other
it's
thing,
Money,
hey,
but that is the main factor.
well, I actually don't think that was the deciding factor because also A&M is very
Jeremy, if you don't think that the money's the deciding factor, then you're fooling yourself.
okay. I don't, Brody, because everything that I've also heard, education, location, and another one is religion. It's a very Christian university. in
Texas
some aspects.
A&M?
What?
Texas A&M. And you're saying religion.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know
not
about
saying it's
Jeremy,
you don't
your
understand
favorite
what I'm-
word.
okay,
Your
I'm-
favorite word is culture, and that is not something that A&M has.
I didn't
whatsoever.
say the football program, Brody.
Hold on. First of all, I wanted people to get this out of their mind. That's what I was fixing to say. Oklahoma did not lose this recruitment based off purely NIL. When you heard
I don't
about
think so.
things in which McKinley wanted in his recruitment, it was location, culture, and the mom. The mom's
one that-
two favorite schools apparently were Oklahoma and Texas A&M. Okay.
Hey, can I respond to that? I never said A&M is Christian. I know
Yeah,
Texas A&M is not
you
a
never-
Christian university.
So then, what's your religion point?
I guess I won't try to make that point. What I was going to say, I just know that they do have a strong Christian following there. Maybe that's every university, I guess. And I'm not saying they're more religious than Oklahoma. Oklahoma's not a Christian university anyway. And
No,
Oklahoma, if we're going to go with the faith aspect of it, everything that we had heard was the staff at OU obviously fits what he believes more. That's not the argument. As far as culture within the football program, I'm just saying that knowing what I've heard about Don McKinley and his family, I would be hard pressed to say that this was an NIL only decision.
Yeah, I don't think that was an NIL only decision. I think the main factor in this was the location part, right? Because LSU, they were really never in the race for the last 2 to 3 months with them really just getting a new defensive line staff and just them really never creating that great connection with Dominick McKinley. Okay. And I also think that just with how far is it from where he lives in Louisiana? Do you know exactly? Jeremy or Brody or Jason?
The location
I thought it was 2 hours away from College Station.
It's actually, if McKinley were to fly to Norman, it's actually closer than A&M. But it's besides the point. Oklahoma's still going to have their best defensive class they've ever had. Probably, I mean, in a very long time.
They got to land Okoye.
And Nigel Smith. Those are the two guys.
Got to land Okoye and Smith.
Yeah, and I think they're going to. I think there'll be one player that's on A&M's roster, specifically on the defensive line. And this, I have nothing backing this up. Let me just say that. No, source, no, nothing. In my opinion, I just think there's going to be one A&M defensive lineman hit the portal, whether that's Brownlow, Dindy, Overton, Hicks. I mean, you name it. There's tons of guys it could be. And I think automatically Oklahoma will be the front runner for a good amount of those guys. So my prediction is that Oklahoma is going to land a former 5-star A&M guy. Yeah, I think I would be kind of surprised if Don McKinley doesn't sign with LSU, but that's just my personal opinion. A&M, yeah, that comment that you just put up makes a ton of sense. I don't think they're going to have a successful year, and that's kind of why my prediction on Oklahoma landing a former 5-star A&M out of the portal this year is where it is.
Hey, real quick, can I stop say something real quick, Brody?
Yeah.
Just my opinion. You can't say it's all. You can't say it's NIL and then say a player will transfer because they're not winning.
What?
Right?
I think you're an absolute. I don't even know the word for it. If you think that NIL is not the number one factor.
No, what I'm saying is you can't
I
say
don't-
that and then say that a player's
I
gonna
don't think it
transfer if
was
they're
in
not
this
winning.
recruitment.
Yeah.
What was then, Jeremy?
I already
The
told you. I
mom.
think
To me, it's
education,
the
location
mom.
are a big
The
aspect
mom.
of it.
If you think it's the mom, then Don
actually,
McKinley would be at
The
Oklahoma.
mom wanted OU from everything we heard. The family
Yeah.
did, but I think education and location played a big deal. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what the number one factor is, Brody. But I think there's other things besides NIL with Don McKinley, based on just what I've heard about Don McKinley. That's what I want to believe. So
Thank you for our first super chat, guys. I believe this is what this is. $4.99. Religion was a big thing.
religion was a big thing. They're getting texts every Sunday with scripture from the A&M staff. Not every recruit is committing because of NIL, and that's another great point, because everyone wants to always say Jimbo Fisher with A&M, okay? And yeah, he seems sometimes like he's not an authentic guy, and I don't know Jimbo Fisher, but I do know that they have some really solid staff members on that staff that people have fallen in love with about as far as other recruits, just some solid dudes on there. And from what that person just said, and I think OU also probably was, so if those are comparable is what I'm saying. If both staffs are comparable in that way, maybe the education and location could have been a win out there.
Yeah, that's true. And I just don't. To me, you're not going to convince me that NIL was the main factor in this McKinley recruitment. Even though they lost the recruitment to Texas A&M, I'm just not convinced that that's
The
it.
Hicks thing, totally different.
Yeah, I just think a lot
Why
of
Hicks ended up at Oklahoma, in my opinion, was because the mom and dad saw $5 million, in my opinion, or something like that. I'm not saying it was $5 million, but it was a lot of money. Okay,
Hey, listen,
and they
I
ran
think-
with it.
I think honestly, I think A&M is just no. I think when people hear A&M got to recruit, they all go to the NIL thing, and I don't think that's true at all. I don't think it's every time. I do think, like Jeremy said, location. I do think. I mean, I've seen some stuff where supposedly the mom and some parents of other recruits they talk after church all the time. I think there is a good community there, and I know that McKinley, I think on Tuesday nights, leaves practice and goes to Bible study. I mean, it's a big deal. Religion's a big deal with his family. It is. So I wouldn't put it all on NIL. But what I was saying, Brody, is a lot of people on Winery and on this recruitment, you're going to hear people say this. You're going to hear people say that, well, if their team doesn't play good this year, they might hit the portal. If you're going to say that, then you can't say they went there for money.
Listen, I mean,
Because they're not a good Missouri's not a good program. If he's going there for performance and winning, then he's not going to go to Miami, right? I mean, Missouri's not going to transfer.
Wouldn't that same thing go for Texas A&M?
Where's Dendy? Where's Hicks? They didn't transfer.
Not yet.
Well,
Why
I'm just
didn't
saying.
they?
I mean, again, you're just speculating, but I can tell you one thing: Oklahoma's not going to stop recruiting Don McKinley. By no means is his recruitment over. I mean, A&M did just secure his commitment. So another 5-star defensive lineman for them.
Hey, they're having a great class, A&M.
And you're right, Brody. OU's not going to stop recruiting him, and I don't expect him to, because you don't know. There may be staff members after this year that aren't there, and a lot of things can change. But at this point, Don McKinley is a Texas A&M Aggie, and that's where he decided to go. I think this was his decision.
I agree.
What about
his decision?
This was his decision. This was not a situation like we talked about with Peyton Bowen last year, where it's like, oh, the kid's heart might want to be at OU. This was Don McKinley's decision. Therefore, you got to put more stock in him, sticking with A&M. But I mean, I don't know. Just the Mizzou thing too.
Hey, Brody, let me ask you this, because I know you are heavy, and a lot of people were heavy that McKinley was going to be a Texas Longhorn up until this week. a lot of people haven't even had really A&M and then not really talking much about him. Even I believe a lot of the A&M people were kind of this week. It just kind of came out of like, what do you think happened with Texas?
What with Texas?
Yeah, I thought they were really
The whole A&M thing was kept under wraps very well by. I mean, look, like the McKinley family. That this is not a David Stone recruitment where David Stone, you know where the dude's at every single second he steps on a campus. McKinley, that wasn't the case. They kept things under wraps a lot better than really any other recruitment I've seen in this cycle. So I don't know how. I mean, it's speculation on my part to say that maybe there was people at Texas A&M that were kept under the wraps in this recruitment. Maybe the people you would expect to know about A&M didn't know about them, and then they had like a late push. And Texas was the favorite for a while. I said that. I think everyone said that Texas was the favorite for Don McKinley. But then, A&M comes in, and what happens in a lot of recruitments is schools make a big push to end. And I think A&M's big push has been lasting for a little bit longer than it has seemed. And they ultimately won out for Don McKinley.
Well, let's hope OU can finish up strong on the defensive line. You got Stone, which to me, I think he, out of the three so far, he was the one that most people thought would go to OU. But you got to start getting some guys that aren't like aren't Oklahoma guys. You like Nigel Smith. You got to land. You got to land Nigel Smith. I think I saw Zena is actually committing on the 6th now. Correct?
Yeah, he's not one. I
think he's probably going to go to A&M too. Personally,
I would be shocked if Zena is not a Texas Longhorn.
Yeah, I expect him to go to A&M I meant not A&M.
Texas.
Well, if you can close out this class with Nigel and Okoye, it's still a great class.
Well, and they're not just going to stop at Nigel and Okoye.
Classes that they've ever had, and the chance to add Williams and Winery to that. And people maybe, I think, tend to forget that just with they're looking ahead to Smith and Okoye. But this is a staff and a team that I think has a good chance to flip Winery by signing day.
I think that's also typical, and I say this as an OU fan. I think that's typical OU fan. After they lose a 5-star, they think they can still flip them.
Because they totally didn't do that last
year. Who did they flip last year?
Peyton Bowen.
Well, but he wasn't committed all year long to another school.
Yeah, he was committed to Notre Dame for the longest time.
The thing with him was he actually was very close to committing to Oklahoma. I heard at a point.
I'm not saying it can't happen. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying as an OU fan, I'd rather put my focus on the kids that have not committed anywhere, like Okoye and Nigel.
You would want to put your focus on the number one player in the class?
Not over right now. You going. Right now, you got to go Okoye and Smith. Okoye and Smith, and then you worry about Winery later on. You got to.
Yeah, I think Winery's
that's exactly right.
Winery's going to be very late.
You get Okoye and Smith in the boat. You let the LSN guys keep working on Winery, and then you hope that maybe you can flip that one on in November, December. But there's also going to be other guys that maybe aren't on Oklahoma fans' radar right now that will emerge because I don't think they're going to take just 5 or 6 players in the class. I think they're going to look to go maybe 7 or 8 because looking at their defensive line, like Jordan Kelly, Isaiah Coe, Jonah Lulu, guys like that, they're not going to be back next year. So you want to get those spots filled.
You want to flip some people? Go to the playoff this year. That'll make a difference.
Obviously.
Well,
you got to have a great year if you're OU. You really need to have a great year.
Well, they need to win at least 10 games this year.
Yeah, you got to have a good year, period.
Not even just because recruiting. I mean, look at the schedule. You know how disappointing it'd be to not win 10 games?
It's one of the easiest schedules in all of the Big 12. So
UCF looked pretty good last night, though.
Yeah, they did. Yep.
And week 2, SMU is going to be a test.
Hey, Tulsa. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, that backup looks good.
That kid.
You are right. You got to have a big season. It starts tomorrow, guys. With so, I mean, while this is disappointing because OU did seem to be in the hunt and in the lead, really, the last 48 hours, I guess, 72 to 48 hours, whatever that was. Don McKinley ends up at Texas A&M Aggie. But you're right. Okoye, Smith, got to land those guys.
Yep. That's for sure. And I think time is ticking because you're going into the SEC in 2024, which may sound like an obvious statement, but it's true. Like they've got to land Smith and Okoye. Those are their two for sure targets left. And also, I think that people realized, when was it, last Saturday, how good Jaden Jackson is really for the first time, because Jaden Jackson has a chance to significantly rise up the rankings by the end of the cycle. And I think he was maybe underlooked at IMG due to the fact he was playing with David Stone and due to the fact he was playing with some other talented guys.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're not a subscriber to the Sooner Surge, make sure you click the button and subscribe. We appreciate all you guys that have been on this live for us as we watched and we're watching where Dom would commit to, and it is A&M official that Dom McKinley will be an Aggie. Okoye and Smith, got to land those two guys. Till next time, Boomer.
Boomer.